Inför en fullsatt biograf visades den animerade dokumentärfilmen Eternal Spring på Stockholms internationella filmfestival den 10 november. Den flerfaldigt prisbelönta filmen använder en unik kombination av animation, spelgrafik och intervjuer för att skildra en verklig händelse från 2002 i Kina. Filmen återberättar hur en grupp falungongutövare i den nordöstra staden Changchun lyckades kapa det statliga tv-nätet och sända ut ett program om falungong och det kinesiska kommunistpartiets hatpropaganda och förföljelse av den andliga metoden. NTD Sverige fick en pratstund med regissören och producenten Jason Loftus som fanns på plats i Stockholm för en frågestund med publiken efter visningen.
Because we were making a kung fu video game a number of years ago, and I was looking for an artist to do some hand-drawn illustrations for it. And we learned about this artist named Dashong, who was living in New York at the time, and he was originally from China. And Dashong was drawing for all the, a lot of the major comic franchises in the US, Justice League, Star Wars, these kinds of things. He'd also worked with Jin Yong, a leading kung fu novelist in China. So we thought he was a great fit. And we brought him up to Toronto when we were collaborating together, and we learned that he came from the same hometown as my wife and producing partner. My wife, Masha, is not part of the Falun Gong community. She was the daughter of a mid-level government official in China. So hearing Dashong's story, he had to escape in the aftermath of this event. He had been detained briefly and tortured. Just hearing what people had endured under her nose in her own city really hit home for her. And she felt it was an important story for Chinese people to hear.
Jason och hans fru bestämde sig för att göra filmen efter att de fått höra Dashongs historia och om tv-kapningen. De lärde känna falungongutövare och inspirerades av deras uthållighet och beslutsamhet att inte ge upp trots de enorma påtryckningar, tortyr och förföljelse de utstår i Kina.
I had my own interactions with Falun Gong prior to the persecution. I had encountered it in 1998. So I had one version of the community and the practice that I had encountered, and I felt it was a positive thing. And then just comparing that with the narrative that was coming out of China, this idea that these people are evil and dangerous and we need to get rid of them, I just couldn't reconcile these two things. And so I had a sympathy and a concern for the human rights situation in China with Falun Gong, and also an understanding of this idea of being misunderstood and being misrepresented, and seeing how this narrative was underpinning this persecution and these human rights abuses that people were suffering. So I think that interest for both my wife and I, she's my producing partner, and then having Dashong fall into our laps and seeing his illustrations and his ability to bring this story to life, he was willing to go on this journey. He wanted to understand this event more himself, and so that brought this idea of using his illustrations and animating them and bringing the story to life that way.
De uppmuntrade Dashong att fortsätta återskapa händelserna genom sina illustrationer och det skulle komma att ta dem 6 år för att skapa den 86 minuter långa dokumentärfilmen. Loftus berättar att det kinesiska kommunistpartiet började med hot och påtryckningar under produktionen av filmen, vilket även fortsatt efter filmens premiär.
During production, we faced this. The game I was making with Dashong was being published by Tencent, which is a major media company in China. And in the midst of making this film, it was pulled from store shelves in China. My wife's family members were harassed. We know the government was pressuring our business partners there as well. Since the film was selected as Canada's Oscar entry, the artist at the center of the film, Dashong, he's been named as a banned author in China. His family members have been harassed and pressured again. Pretty much everyone who seems to have collaborated with him has been under some type of pressure from the authorities.
Enligt Jason försöker kinesiska kommunistpartiet även påverka underhållningsföretag i väst.
In the West, they're trying to look at entertainment companies and see if they provide this kind of carrot and stick, if they intimidate you. A lot of people are concerned about upsetting the Chinese regime because they want access to that market. And so they see if they pressure you and you change your behavior, then they know they have a lever they can pull to continue to change your behavior. So I think it's important not to stop speaking up when there's something that you believe in, it's something you think is important.
Eternal Spring visas ytterligare 2 gånger på filmfestivalen.